30 years ago, I attended a team building exercise with some colleagues at work. At the beginning of this session, they gave us a test, Myers-Briggs test, which for those of you who are not, it is a sort of psychometric, psychological test, as it were. Yeah. I was actually very young at the time, in my early 20s. Yeah, early 20s. And I didn't answer a lot of the questions or gave very neutral responses to them. Yeah. Partly because I really didn't know the answers to it. It goes through it, it asks your opinion about different things. In my early 20s, I was more interested in if you'd asked me about pop music or films or something of a similar nature, I'd been good. Yes, I'd passed some technical exams and everything. Asked me questions about the electronics or computers, believe it or not. Yeah, I'd have probably been able to answer. Yeah, not about social issues and what I thought about things and other people around me. Yeah, I was mixing and that was that. Um, I didn't particularly like it then. I found it interesting, but I didn't particularly like it then. Now, these things, obviously, this was used to assess where you fitted in with the team. I'd already been given a job, so it wasn't even to do an assessment to do it, to actually get a job. It was I'd already been gone through interviews, passed interview process, and been appointed in a position. So if I was the wrong person at that point, I don't see what the test would have been. Yeah. To say it was a dysfunctional team is an understatement at the time, but that's another story. Yeah. Um, but, you know, I was pondering this the other day because I look at the world sometimes from where we are. Whilst these tests probably are quite useful for someone, uh, I often think they're very, very subjective. It can be very subjective. There's just their actual usefulness on the ground, as it were. Yeah. Um, if somebody wants to know my opinions about something, why not just ask me? Why formalize in a tick boxing exercise? Yeah. And this is going back 30 years. So, yeah. Well, in today's world, the more and more I see it, the more and more I talk to people, it does appear that these types of tests are used more and more in the workplace for assessments and suitability for roles. If you go online to apply for a job, they might ask you to do an online test. Yeah. And I just did one just before we came online, just recorded this today. So, yeah, just to see what I am. If anyone interested, I'm an introvert, a thinker, yeah, driven a little bit by emotion, and yeah, don't really care too much about other people's feelings at the same time. It's a bit weird. INTP. Anyone that wants to analyze that, I'm quite open about it. It is about a 30 question test, so it doesn't exactly tell you who I am really. Anyway, but now there seems to be a desire by certain elements or authority figures or people to actually divide us or subdivide us more as people. When you look at it, today we are divided by gender, ethnicity, or the dreadful term race. I don't like race because I think ethnicity is more relevant for who we are today. Sexuality, and even disability. We are now being more and more divided by all these for various reasons. That's within society, within the recruitment process, and everything else. Yeah. And this is worrying me a little bit, that if you're going for a job, you could be a perfectly suitable candidate, but you might not fit one of the criteria. And I'm not suggesting anyone should be excluded. Yeah, and everybody should be given opportunity, as I was saying. But yeah, it's not always as straightforward as ticking a box. You could actually look at it. Can somebody be trained to do a job? They might not have the upfront qualifications, but they could possibly be trained to be even better than the initial person. But yeah, that's up to the employer, the future employer, to decide. Not have things mandated to them. So anyway, and even in the wider society, there's criminal profiling that goes on. Yeah, I mean, I've read a few things because I'm into historical events, as it were. For example, I've read a criminal profile of the Jack the Ripper. The FBI have a profile on their files, if you go into the FBI archive, all about Jack the Ripper as a psychological profile from, I think it's the 1980s, done for a TV company, production company. Makes some interesting reading. I think it's now the sort of the established, if you like, authoritative thing about the profiling of the guy, assuming it is a man, of course. You know, I don't want to be a non-inclusive. Jack the Ripper could quite as easily be a woman, possibly. Unlikely. Yeah. And in marketing, we have different categories as well. We use this as part of a jokingly part of our preamble about anyone that's read our profile for this podcast. Steve is a boomer. I'm a Gen Xer. Then we have others. We have Gen Z, millennials, and the Alpha, Generation Alpha, Gen Alpha, now coming on. This is done for marketing purposes, to profile for target marketing. What are the characteristics of this particular group? What do they like or dislike? Again, that's an interesting concept. Yeah, what shapes us, the news, the environment, everything around. Am I much different from Steve because I was born 10 years after him? Let alone we've got different personalities to start with, probably, even possibly, yeah, very different beliefs at times. Again, yeah, we use it as a bit of a humorous exercise as opposed to a serious one. So, leading into my question to Steve, when we use social media, we are assessed and targeted. Social media puts us in a demographic. So every time you click a like on social media, every time you interact with something, put a message or a comment, absolutely anything, including the platforms we use here, you are being, if you like, assessed. Your likes, dislikes, to allow targeting. Everything's a business. They don't let you watch this video for free. Steve and I do not get any money for this video, for instance. Somebody does, because they give us a platform to put it on. Well, you're all part of a big marketing campaign for someone. So there's obviously problems inherent with this. We get more and more content that is what we like, can actually sort of whip up emotions in us. So we click more and more and more and more. And it can be addictive. And again, we have this with the news. So my question to Steve is profiling a good or a bad thing?
Right. Well, you touched on so many different aspects.
Yeah.
You go and try and think one for one, I suppose.
Yeah.
Your test, 30 question test, should be treated like a photograph.
Yeah.
It's at any one moment in time.
Yes. Yeah.
Because your mood could change, your outlook could change, anything can change with you within a split second.
Yeah.
You know? So they're not very useful for mounting a team because, like I said, you can change. You can change.
Yeah.
There could be somebody in the team that takes away the equilibrium of how you think, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, and the only way you're going to find out if a person's good for a team is to sit down and talk with them and have
Mm,
a chat with them and
mm,
find out that way. If you are the boss of your company and you want to form a team, you need to find the right people for the job. If you There's no such thing as not having enough time,
mm.
because a lot of these tests and things are done through uh, agencies, where the boss who thinks is being trendy will go through an agency,
Yeah.
and the agency doesn't know you from Adam,
Mm,
doesn't want to line up people outside their offices because they're offering work from various different companies at the same time.
yeah.
If they had to do personal interviews, they would have queues kilometers, miles long,
Yeah.
So they'd have to do everything as much as they can online. I did an, I think it's called an acuity test for my niece some years ago. She was applying for a job at a local supermarket,
Mm,
and they had sort of rational thinking rational thinking questions.
yeah.
If Susan is half the age of Bob, and Bob's brother is 10 years older, how old's
Yeah.
Susan? And
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah. Yes.
And, so me and her were sat down to do these tests for her. It was
Mm,
all on,
yeah.
for her to get this job.
Yeah.
And she did the job, you know,
Mm,
did the job, no problem.
mm.
Because once she was in the job, they didn't carry on
No.
with these tests with her. That was just to thin the herd, to
Yeah.
do the thin the herd, so to
Yes.
speak. If you're wanting to form your team within your own company, I
Mm,
suggest that a boss should take the time out so that he can't blame anybody else if it
mm,
all goes tits up, you know. And it's his own fault.
mm.
And nobody wants to shoot themselves in the foot, so he's
Yeah.
going to do it. In terms of um, segregating us
Mm,
through race, through sex, through that's the old diversity, equity, and inclusion
yeah.
thing. Many companies in the US where this was quite a strong piece of strategy.
Yeah.
Many large companies have stopped doing this. They've stopped doing this anymore
Mm,
because it's just causing far too much trouble than what it's worth.
yeah.
The idea is good, I
Yeah.
suppose. However, the companies were taking losses. So, and
Yeah.
at the end of the day, when you're a company, you can't
Mm,
take losses, and you've got
no.
to get the right people for the job. And so,
Mm,
experience and qualifications are what counts, and
yes.
not if somebody is gay or not. You know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So that's that one out of the way. In terms on social media, look, social media is an open marketplace. It's
Mm,
open to all and sundry. They're
yeah.
gonna they're gonna check on where you visit, the sites you visit. It's amazing because it's very, very complex.
Mm,
And it's much more complex than what we can understand. They say that in the US they have a massive computer
mm,
that logs everybody. The Secret
yeah.
Service, they
Yeah.
have a computer that logs everybody's move on the internet,
Mm,
you know. And so if somebody starts to go off onto one sort of path, so to speak,
yeah.
that is away from the common herd,
Yeah.
the Secret Service can approach that person for good or for bad,
Mm,
to make them do things that perhaps they wanted to do but were too frightened to do it, or they didn't want to do because the Secret Service, but they would do because the
mm,
Secret Service has got some information about them
yeah.
that they don't want anybody else to know. You
Mm,
know, In terms commercially, of course, we track that everywhere we go, all the sites we go, even if I use a VPN,
Yeah.
for example, there are certain sites that I go into the site with the VPN
Mm.
and they know I'm using a VPN,
Okay.
which is so I can't go into that site,
Yeah.
which defeats the object of having a VPN,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, the open platforms and all this, you know, everything's being monitored,
Yeah.
everything. Um, if the companies like the X's of this world or Getter of this world
Mm.
or Rumble, if they want to shop you for
Mm.
saying a word out of line, they would do. A lot of them don't want to,
No.
which is why you get the lawsuits around the world. You know, they try and keep with free speech.
Mm.
However, when push comes to shove, as Elon proved here
Mm.
in Brazil, you know, he succumbed and took out certain people off the platform which were deemed to be enemies of the state, if you like,
Mm.
and put somebody in place in Brazil
Yeah.
answer for X
Yeah.
because previously it closed the office down here in Brazil, you
Well,
know.
he- I
So
mean, yeah, I mean, he's
sorry,
answerable to he's answerable to shareholders. Although they say he owns X, he doesn't own it on his own. I understand he's got shareholders as well behind it. I don't know. Yeah,
I'm not really sure about that. I know
yeah,
that there's a big couple of $1 billion involved, and he
yeah,
he had some loose change, and so he thought, well, why not?
yeah, yeah. But
It's Elon.
yeah, well, he's an eccentric. He is an eccentric. He's a good eccentric, but he's on our side, I think. I don't know, but yeah,
Depends what side you're on.
yeah. Well, but yeah, I mean, I agree that. I mean, yes, just getting back to it, we're all being profiled all the time, as you said. Yeah. Every comment we put on social media can be even interpreted. The profile, I mean, even the, if you like, Facebook, people are always getting banned because of goes against community standards. Well, that's been done by a computer somewhere that doesn't always understand humor, let alone human nature, humor. And that's been programmed by somebody who may or may not understand humor, or maybe just told this is your criteria, program that in. People say, you know, all programmers are a certain type. They're not. Some of them have got quite a sharp sense of humor, but if they get told to do something, they're paid to do it. Yeah, they can build in different things into it. Nobody would know, but it is a problem now. I mean, when you're talking about big data, I had somebody in my acquaintance, my professional acquaintances, actually was writing the software that drags all the information that we're talking about out. And it's quite frightening. And they more or less said to me, if you actually knew the half, you would not be using Facebook anymore. Yeah. I mean, given, yeah, Facebook's is the main example. Yeah, it's actually quite frightening what they can build up about you. Now, as you sort, yeah, I mean, yeah, this is the trouble with all this profiling. Who does it get used by? For what purposes? If you've got a tendency that might be useful to someone, whatever that is, they can build a profile. We're giving them our profiles already. They can build that.
Look, when you go into Google and you put a search term in Google, the first thing that Google does, even before you put in your search term, is suggest a search term for you.
Yeah.
And that is based on your profile,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
right? It could be based on common search terms,
Mm.
you know, but even so, this is while you're typing. This is while you're still typing.
Yeah. Just thinking, yeah. Yeah.
As soon as you click on search,
Yeah.
in less than a second, you've got about 800
Mm.
different sites that may or may not have the information
Mm.
relative to your search term.
Yeah.
For that to happen so quickly,
Mm.
for Google to have command of the World Wide Web, because Google is the
Yeah.
number one search engine.
Yeah.
Apparently. They must harvest an awful lot of dots and dashes, or ones and zeros
Yeah.
in their case, and so of course of course it's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's bigger than what we can imagine.
Yeah. The term is big data. It's like you say, they collect this big data. And that's being about the AI concept that's been around for 25 years. I read a paper from 25 years ago about it. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, yeah, like you and I, as I said in my preamble, have different personalities. We're 10 years apart, different views. I mean, different views. We come from different parts of the UK, for instance, from that. Yeah, geographically, we live in a different place geographically. I could put in a search term, a general one, not for local, and you could. We get, like you say, two different sets of results. Yeah, and which will be an interesting exercise. I wouldn't do it live now, but so like, yeah, you could put in something about music or entertainment, yeah, and you'll get it tailored for what you like. I'll get it tailored for what I like, which is, on one hand, very, very clever. On the other hand, a frightening piece of data for someone to have on me. It's like I said, how could that get used? At the moment, we're living in a free society. It doesn't,
Are we?
We have the perception of a free society. Yeah, I mean, the fact
most of us do.
Yeah, yeah, a majority of us, and yeah, I mean, you're probably freer than I can because you can still pretty much please yourself in life. I've still got to be subservient to other people who could or could not find out information about me that could. It's like profiles all over the place, professional profiles as well. Well, very, very guarded about. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I find it. Yeah, that's it. That's the other thing. I've already given somebody half the job already by different professional profiles. Yeah, yeah. Anyone could collect all this up, put it all together. All this Mark, he's an excellent guy. Yeah, really good to have as an employee. Yeah, we'll offer him a very good salary. He could come and work for us. Yeah, if anyone's looking. I mean, the other side of it all is, yeah, what is this? It could be used to destroy me. I don't think I have anything that I need to take a super injunction out about. Personally, I can't think of anything in my past or my present activities that would require me to take out any injunctions or super injunctions to stop people printing or knowing anything about me. Yeah, you know me, Steve. I'm pretty upfront. Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I'd say in my case, I don't think I'm all that important. As long as we realise that we're just little
mm.
dots on a page,
Yeah.
it's not all that important at all.
I,
And
I'm, yeah,
we'll be left alone for the main part
yeah.
of, as long as we don't go to lefty loosey or righty tighty,
Mm, yeah,
they nobody's gonna just keep your head low, just get on with your life, and
yeah.
do what you got to do
Well, yeah, I'm
without
quite,
without screaming without screaming too much.
yeah. Well, yeah, I'm actually quite happy being a nobody. If people leave me alone, let me lead my life the way I want to lead it. Yeah, it's yeah, okay. We put our head above the parapet a bit with this, but what's this podcast in a corner of the internet when there's so many others about, so to speak? We say useful things, I like to believe, and we contribute to society by having an opinion, and people can agree or disagree with us. And we don't psychologically profile anyone that feels they want to put a comment or anything. We don't judge. Yeah, we might.
There might be one.
Yeah, okay, but yeah. I mean, obviously, we don't appreciate anyone who tries to, yeah, actually try and destroy us. But yeah, I hate that term destroy because I find it very, very destructive, let's put it bluntly. Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to go out to destroy anyone, and I'd rather people didn't come out to destroy me. Yeah. But yeah, there comes a point where we have to do our own profiling and decide who we suitably engage with. But that's so true in life as well. For most of us.
It's who your friends are.
Yeah.
We do it. We might do it subconsciously. If we'll meet somebody and we'll say, "Well, I
Yeah.
don't like them."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I always have this thing. Yeah.
You could even say, "I don't know what it is about them, but there's something that I don't like." That there is a profile, straight away.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't like to think that about anyone. But yeah, we profiling anyone. It's sometimes, yeah, sometimes the best thing you can do to someone, put them at arm's length or keep them away. Yeah. For their own good as well as yours. You're both, not going to be best friends. Doesn't mean you've got to at the same time. But yeah, that's a pro, and we do that automatically in life. That's the protection thing we have. Another thing that maybe, yes, some people do have is jealousy. This person's a threat to me. Not necessarily they're doing anything wrong. It could be quite the opposite. They're doing everything right, which immediately, particularly in the world of politics, can actually mean you're a threat to them. Yeah. And yeah, as I said, I think in some ways we're living in a world that's closer together, as I say, because of social media and things. But we're also living in a world that is getting more divided. And I think it's been done a little bit, or quite a lot, for nefarious reasons, which is why I'm getting back to my original point. I don't know if you agree or disagree with that.
Well, like I said, commercially speaking, it's better if you're divided.
Yeah.
Because the commercial people will know exactly who you are.
Yeah.
And what your needs might be,
and
what might attract you to a certain product or not.
Yeah.
However, that becomes a problem to the individual because they feel like they might be being encroached upon.
Yes.
Which to a certain extent they are.
Mm.
However, if you, like you did the other day, you said that you were going to step back from the internet and have more time for you to do which is probably the best solution.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't leave your trail of
yeah.
Your breadcrumb drop behind you. The Hansel and Gretel breadcrumb drop behind you for somebody else to pick.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, if you do even the most innocent of things, there's going to be somebody trying to sell you a Bible.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I understand that. Yeah, I mean, well, that's marketing. I mean, yeah, there's good examples of that. It's a as I said, we're already giving them information. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I haven't come off totally. I still find modern world and living quite useful. I learn things from Facebook sometimes I wouldn't have otherwise known, which is useful in my profession. But I don't need to be on it all the time. They make it addictive. I tend to like my books. Yeah, I'm beginning to rediscover my books. I'm discovering even programs back on TV again. Yeah, I mean it is because I've become a bit of a news junkie as well, and I knew every point of view and everything else, which is good, but it wasn't really helping me personally. I didn't need counselling or anything on it. I just realised myself, hang on, I know. When you're going to sleep at night trying to analyse the world, and this is where I'm a different person from you, Steve, because you can switch off from all this somehow, but you're a little bit older, a little bit more experienced. And yeah, you do like it and you've analysed it all and you've gone, right, that's it. I'm done with it. Someone like me is probably still a bit of a thinker about it, possibly a bit of youth, possibly a bit too much time. Where I am, given my profession, is to give out knowledge, as it were. But then I realised, as my daughter said to me the other day, Daddy, I think you know enough. Yeah. So, yeah, she probably has a good point with that. I mean, she's intelligent herself, but yeah, she was making a point. And it wasn't as though I disregarded when I'm always available for my family when they need me, or try to be, unless I'm actually physically working, earning a salary at the time, as it were, which is what my job is, piecemeal. But um, yeah, but yeah, again, that's part of me as a profile. Anyone that asks me, I'm a family man. My family around me is everything. And I know that's a very old-fashioned view to have now in a profile. It means that you're not with it and trendy.